Okay, hi everybody. My name is Camille, and today we're having our PAT workshop. I imagine that most of you here are studying for your DAT now, and will be taking it soon, or we'll start studying pretty soon too. So I hope you find this useful. And if we're talking about like a certain section that you are actually studying now, you have any other tips that we don't talk about, like feel free to just jump in and share your tip with us so we can all benefit from this. So first of all, what's the PAT? So it's one of the sections in the DAT. It's actually your second section. So the first one is the natural science part with the bio, gen chem, orgo. Then you take your PAT and then you have your optional break. So pretty much what it tests is your spatial visualization skills, including your ability to interpret two-dimensional representations of three-dimensional objects. So this is crucial if you want to be a dentist because you're going to spend most of your time looking at x-rays, which are 2D, and you have to like apply that to the actual tooth of the patient or the mouth, which is a 3D structure. So it's a pretty important section. And you have to do your best to study for it to do as best as you can because they do look at it. And pretty much what it consists of is 90 questions, and you have 60 minutes to do them. And those 90 questions are divided into 6 subtests, and each one of those subtests have 15 questions. So okay, so pretty much how to succeed. So the first step, um, I would actually change this and put the first step as practice because it's really hard to explain how to succeed on this section because it's just a matter of practice. At first, you're gonna look at a question, you're gonna be like, "What is this?" And after you do it 100 times, it's gonna be second nature. So it's just a matter of practice. That's the most important part. There's no other way. You can watch videos on YouTube or any other resource, but you're not gonna get it unless you practice it a million times every day. And then another thing that you can do is just process you're going to be able to like quickly depending on the section too, but you're going to be you're going to develop the ability of like being able to eliminate the ones that you automatically know that are not right, and that's going to save you a lot of time. And again, it's a skill that you develop with time, with practice. And another thing is your time management. You have to really be able to perfect that because like you saw, there's 90 questions in 60 minutes, so it's not that much time. So you have to like with practice, you're gonna know which sections you're better at and faster. So my best tip would be to like leave those like do those sections first, the ones that you know that you're best at and you can do them quickly. And then you do those first, and then all the time that you have remaining, you can use it. Sorry, you can use it for the sections that you're not really good at or that are more difficult to you. I would say that that's the best way to tackle this because if you start with like the hardest one, you might like use more time on that, and then you don't have enough time to do the sections that you could have done better. So yeah. And then just I cannot stress this enough, just practice. Just do a couple of questions every day, every single day, and you'll get better at it for sure. And then what resources to use. So DAT Bootcamp is the one that I personally use. I got a 20 in my PAT section. So it's not the best, but it's good enough. And they have like a set of videos that kind of like give you tips on how to do each of the sections, which is kind of helpful because at first, if you just see the question and you have no idea, what to do,
Do
like
stand with your legs.
sorry, do you have a question or okay? All right. So like I was saying, I lost my train of thought, but anyway, so DAT Bootcamp has videos on how to do like each of the sections, and that can help you to like get started. And then it's just practice. And PAT Booster is amazing. I haven't personally used it. I don't know if any of you guys have used it and want to like give a little bit feedback on it. But I've heard it's amazing, and I wish I had done it to be honest, because it would have boosted my my score. No pun intended. So, yep. And those are our sponsors, so you get discounts. So how great. All right, so we're gonna get started. We're gonna go in like the orders that you would see the sections appear in your actual PAT. So like I said, there's 6 subsets, subtests, sorry. The first one is keyholes or apertures, however you pronounce the word, whatever. Everybody calls it keyholes. And then pretty much what this section consists of is like a 3D object that's presented to you. And then you have different options that you have to choose from. And it's pretty much, you have to think about it like literally a key, and you're inserting the key in a hole. So the key has to fit perfectly into that hole, right? Out of the options that they give you, there's only one correct answer. Prior to passing through the aperture, correct me if I'm saying that wrong. The object may be turned in any direction and or started through the aperture on a side not shown. So pretty much what it means is that you might have the object like this, but then to be able to fit it, you have to like flip it in your mind like this, and then it's gonna fit. That's pretty much what that means. And so that's a very important thing to keep in mind when it comes to keyholes, because every little line, if you see that in one of the answer choices, the line is like a little bit longer, a little bit shorter, then that's not it, because everything is drawn to scale. So the way that you have to like kind of look at the object is in 3 ways. So the front back, like in this direction right here, top bottom, so top bottom, and then right end is just looking at it from this angle. So those are the only 3 views that they would give you, right? The answer choices. So let me move this. Yeah, so this is just an example. So this is a typical just, figure that you would get in the section. And then you have to be able to like look at it from the top, and it will look like this. And again, with practice, you kind of like start realizing, okay, so this line right here is longer, but and things like that. So those things are really hard to like explain. It's just something that you improve with practice. And then you have to be able to look at it from the right and from the front. And then let me just give you an example. So this is an example of a typical keyhole question. So going back to like the tips that I was giving you. So for example, elimination. So you look at this picture. So this right here is obviously the top bottom view, right? So you look at it and you see that this distance right here is obviously not the same as this one. And this one is not the same as this one. And this is uniform all throughout. So you automatically know that just that's not right. So you would eliminate it. So that's just an example of how you can like quickly glance through this section is pretty time consuming. So I would say that the best way to like tackle is not just go like figure by figure, like oh, this little piece right here. No, just go like look at all the answer choices and just try to eliminate as quickly as you can the ones that are obviously not the right ones, like that. So just in 3 seconds, you eliminate that option, and you have more time. So elimination is key in this section. And then this is another type of keyhole questions that you might get, which are called rock keyholes. These are pretty hard, to be honest, in my opinion. I think they started doing it when I took my DAT last year. And pretty much I would say that what I've read and watched like in YouTube videos and tutorials is that the best way to do this, like kind of like think about like the outlines. So kind of like look at the outlines. I try to match it as best as you can to one of the figures that you see here. I know I'm not doing a great job of explaining rock keyholes. I got like 3 of those in my DAT. I have no idea. I probably got them wrong because I never really understood it. But yeah, this kind of looks wrong. This is definitely wrong. So, again, process of elimination. There's nothing like completely straight here. So process of elimination, you would like eliminate that one. So you can kind of like get away with just doing elimination, and one has to be the definitive answer. So you can do that too. If you have any tips on rock keyholes, please step in, because I'm not really good at those. So yeah. Moving on to the second section that you would see is the top front end. Or remember, they're gonna have like 15 questions on keyholes, and now we move to the next 15 questions on top front end. So pretty much what this section consists of is that you're presented with pictures from the top. An object like this, you're presented with the top view, which is this one. Always the top view is going to be here in the top left. The front view is going to be here in the bottom left, and the side view is going to be here in the bottom right. So the views are with a perspective, meaning that the points in the viewed surface are viewed along parallel lines of vision. So pretty much here, you're always going to find two types of line, like solid lines and dashed lines. So solid lines means that if you're looking at the object directly from this view, you're able to see that, like those, the ends of the object, you're able to see them, those sides of the object. The dashed lines are stuff that are behind the part of the object that you're seeing. So for example, if you're looking at this, I don't know, for example, I don't know, if I take this and I go like that, if you're looking at it like this, you're not able to see this. So this would be like a dashed line. That's what I mean. Okay. And then pretty much the way this kind of questions work is that they give you two of the three views and you have to figure it out. And they give you the object. Or did they give you the object? No, I don't think they give you the object. No, never mind. They don't give you the object. That would be stupid. Okay. So they give you two of the views and then you have to figure out the third. So they can give you the top and the front and you have to figure out the end view. So you have to like be able to visualize the 3D object in your head to be able to like get the answer right. So there's some tips and tricks that I've seen. For example, like some people like match like these lines, and for example, like this ones, if you were to like get the end view like from this object, you know, like these two are not going to be visible, so you know that they're going to be dashed. So there's a couple of like YouTube videos that are pretty good, like they give you pretty good tips. And but yeah, pretty much you have to like master the ability of like visualizing the object. This is just an example, so they give you the front and the end view. So you have to figure out the top. And
Um,
like I said,
no, I was just sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. No, because like I wanted to elaborate on something that you said previously.
mhm,
A lot of people like to draw out the like for this specific section, they like to draw because you do have a paper, so you can draw out what you think is going to be the view, so you can match the lines up. That's what Camille was saying. So for example, on that front view, you can draw the lines back and try to associate the lines with the dash lines if you know that the dash lines are going to be behind, so you know that it's a possibility they could be on top like two holes. So like little stuff like that. And yeah, there's that one. If you don't need to actually see something on a piece of paper, I guess like I didn't really like draw it out, but I would figure like literally use my hands and be like, okay, like if I imagine I grabbed it like this and I would turn it like this, and I would then turn it, like you just visualize the object. That's another little like way, but it is just practice. Like all of PAT is just practice. So you learn how to use the like visualization skills properly.
exactly. And then, you know, there might be one question that you have to like draw, but if you draw like every single question, that's gonna be super time consuming. So you really have to like that's good for like tough questions, but and there's some tips and tricks. For example, here, like this line right here, it goes all the way to the top. So you know that when you're looking at it from the top, that line is not gonna be dashed, it's gonna be solid because you can see it. These lines go all the way to the top. So when you look at the object from the top, you're going to be able to see it. So you can automatically just discard this one, and I think this one. Maybe I'm wrong, but that's just, that's kind of like the trick that I used to use. So I would say that the answer is that, but anyway. Yeah, for example, you learn with time, like from if you're looking at it from the side and you only see one line, so that matches with a triangle. And then if you see like three here, that means that you have the vertex of the triangle and then the two ends. Like, you know, this might not make any sense to you right now if you haven't like really like done any top front end questions, but you know, I learned this from a couple of YouTube videos that I watch, and I really encourage you to watch them too because those tips are really helpful. And again, when I saw this section, I was like, I'm not, that's it. I'm not gonna do good in this. This is terrible. I don't understand this. How am I expected to figure this out? And then after doing a million questions, you just get it.
That
Would you
one's
mind
really-
linking the videos that you said that you watched in the description or like the chat
Okay.
box,
Yeah.
please? So I have
What-
trouble with that section too.
Yeah, what I watched, to be honest, was DAT Bootcamp, and then there was like one random, I can try to look it up, that's fine. One random like YouTube video that and I was like, okay, I need another resource to help me out. I just looked it up, and the first one that popped up, I just watched it. And but yeah, I primarily use DAT Bootcamp for tips. So, but yeah, I can do that. I can try to look it up. Okay, and then the third section that you would see is angle ranking. This one is one of the fastest ones that you can get done. This I used to, because this one, remember they have 15 questions for each section. So I would always start by this one. So I would always start in question 31, which is the first angle ranking, just because it's the fastest that I would get done. But not necessarily the easiest, because it can be pretty confusing. So pretty much what it is, that you have 4 angles that are, and you have to figure out which one is the smallest and which one is the largest, kind of like random from smallest to largest. Like tackle this section is first to determine which one is closer to 90 degrees, visualizing the smaller V and finding the smallest or the largest one first. So also another thing that you have to keep in mind, you have to like look at the vertex of the triangle. Like you cannot look at like the ends, because sometimes the ends are super open, but the actual vertex is smaller, which is a mistake that I used to do at the beginning. And then another thing, like different people, I've read so many tips from different people. Like some people like to like look super closely at the screen and I look at each one of them, and that's better for them. Some people like just step behind and looking at it from afar is like better, helps them visualize it better. Whatever works for you is fine. I would just advise you to like learn how to do this section without like having to like touch the screen or anything like that, or like do things with your fingers, or like, because they're not going to be able to do that in the actual test. Like you cannot put your hands on the computer screen or anything like that. So just, learn how to do this without having to move your hands. Just, you can like, go a little closer, a little farther away.
I have a tip
Yeah.
that I can maybe help people with about this section. So when it comes to this section, there's like usually obtuse and then also the acute angles that you look at. And when it comes to the obtuse ones, I like to think like which one's the sharpest turn, as if I was in a car driving, which would be the sharpest turn that I would make to, like, that would be the smallest one. And usually they go how you see they have option A is like 3, 4, 1, 2 in the order of increasing. So the best thing that I think to do is first find out which is the smallest one, then find out which is the largest one, and then the in-betweens, usually you will already have the answer by then, but then usually in-betweens, you just have to take a look and see which one's bigger at that point. And with the acute angles, I just think of, you have to look at the angle, not the ends like you were saying, because the angle is really where you'll see if it's larger or smaller, but just pretty much see which would be like the closest at the angle, not at the tip. Because sometimes they'll try to trick you and have them be in the same position, how 1 and 2 in the same position, but maybe like 2 would be a little bit angled down. So you think that, oh, 2 is bigger, but in reality, it's not. So that's just a little tip that I use.
Yeah, that's really good. This section is pretty tricky. Like I was never able to improve this section. I knew that this was gonna like bring my score down, because I would get it right sometimes, because I would literally guess, because it's really hard. If you think about it, it's really hard. And honestly, what I would do with this type, because pretty much what I would do in this case is that I would just like glance at it pretty quickly, and just by looking at them, I'll be like, okay, this one looks smaller than that one, and I just would go with that. Because if you start looking at it, at least for me, if I started looking at it like too much, like analyzing it every like little millimeter, my brain would go crazy. So I would look at it and be like, okay, that looks bigger. That's the one. That's it. That's how I would do it. So maybe you can practice doing that. Maybe you prefer to just look at them like in detail, and that's better for you. Different people approach it different ways. So hole punching. This is to me, the easiest section ever. This is one of the ones that you can get done fast, super fast. It's pretty simple. So this right here, down here, is what a typical hole punching question looks like. So it's pretty much like a Post-it note. Think about it that way. And they fold it and then they hole punch it. And then you have to, in your mind, you have to unfold it and see where the holes are going to be located, like in this little grid right here. So let me see. The solid lines indicate the position of the folded paper. The folded paper always remains within the edges of the original square. And then the paper is never turned or twisted. You have to mentally unfold the paper and determine the position of the rolls in the original square. So they're never gonna flip it or anything like that. They just fold it. Sometimes they might fold it back. But yeah, it's pretty simple. So the way that most people tackle this kind of questions is that you start from the end and then you start unfolding it like back. And this is actually a picture of what I would do, because before COVID, they used to give you like this plastic papers or laminated papers, whatever, that had grids on it, and people just would use that for this. But when I took the DAT, COVID just started, so they didn't do that because of COVID. You have to like reuse it and wash it, whatever. So they would give you just blank paper. So you had to like actually draw the grids for yourself. So what I don't know if they're still doing that, but just so you keep it in mind, just so you practice doing that. And like, cause this takes me like, I don't know, 2 minutes that I could have used to answer questions. So I had to like practice, doing that within the amount of time that they give me for the section. So this is exactly what I would do. I would just draw like 16, cause there's 15 questions. So I would draw 16 of these grids, just in case I mess up in one, I have one extra. And I would do the 15 questions there. And then pretty much like, for example, here, this hole is gonna be here. So I would like put it right here. And then when you unfold it, what I would actually do is like write like with dashed lines, the axis of where the paper, I don't know if I'm explaining myself very well, but for example, the paper is like this. When you unfold it, that line, I would draw it with dashed lines, just so I keep like a mental, note of where the folds are being made. And then when you unfold that, this would be there. So you draw it too. And then you keep doing that all the way back until your little paper is like completely unfolded and you have all the holes. This is really hard to explain, you guys, with words. But once you do it, I promise you, this is one of the easiest sections. And this is literally what you're doing. You start to unfold it. And you see like this is exactly what I would draw with my pen, like this little dash lines, just to like know where I unfolded the paper and keep track of that. And yeah, it's a pretty straightforward section. So, okay, cube counting. This is actually the easiest one. I love this section because I would do it so quickly and I would always get it right because it's very simple. So pretty much they give you something like this. And the other good thing about it is that you have one figure for a couple of questions, right? So they will give you a figure like this and you have to like count. The way that you have to imagine this is that you have these cubes and then you pour like paint on them and you have to think about how many sides of the cubes are going to be painted with that paint, pretty much. So it's all the exposed sides, pretty much. So for example, this cube has 1, 2, 3, and this side that you cannot see, but it's exposed to. So 4 sides exposed that would be painted, right? So this is exactly what I would write down on my paper. So the number of sides painted, so you can have, obviously it's a cube, so it has 5 sides. So the maximum amount of sides that you can have painted are 5. And I would do this, and then I would just start counting each cube and just do like a little mark for every cube that had 1 side, 2 sides, 3 sides. So the way that I would do it and the way that Bootcamp taught me, and I think is the most like organized way to do it, is just go first by levels and by rows so you don't get lost. So I would start, I don't know, in the left. So I would do like the bottom part first, right? The first, whatever that's called. Anyway, I would start with this cube, right? So 1, 2, 3, 4. So I would make a little mark here. Then I go to the one in the back. So it's pretty important that you always keep in mind that all the cubes that you cannot see, you have to assume that they're there. Like, remember that you like do a first layer. It's like you're cementing, like you're doing like a building or something like that, right? So in order to put this cube here, it has to be one at the bottom, right? For leverage. So if you don't see it, unless they give you like a little hint that it's not there, or you can see an empty space, you have to assume that's there. So here you have 3 cubes in this line, 2 and 1. So 1, 2, 3, 4. The other one in the back has only one side because this side is not exposed because it's touching cube A, and the other side is in contact with the cube in the back. This side is in contact with this green cube A, and the top side is in contact with B, and the bottom is just the ground. So there's only one side exposed. I don't know if you're understanding what I'm trying to say. So there's only one side exposed, so I would put a little mark here in the one, and I would, I would do that for the first one. Then I go to the second level and I do this line, go to the third level, I do this one, and then to the fourth level and do this one. So for example, in this one, I would start with the first level. So there's 3, this 2, this 3, this 2, this 2, and then go to the second level. This one, and this one. And that way I would like keep in order and I wouldn't like get confused. And then after you do that, pretty much, oh, another thing. So I think last year they started introducing like the floating cubes. So it's not complicated at all. It's just a cube that's unsupported, like it's not on top of another cube. So you have to like keep in mind that you have to count that side, like the bottom side. So that's all it is. And then this is an example. Oh, I don't have an example. Are you kidding me? Well, I guess. So each figure like this would have like maybe, I don't know, 2 to 3 questions, and they would tell you, look, oh, in figure A, how many cubes have 3 sides painted? So for this one, it would be 3 cubes. And then for figure A, how many cubes have 5 sides painted? And then you would put 1, so that's pretty much how this section works. Once you do it a couple of times, it's super easy. So yeah. And then the last section, which is part of pattern folding, which is a little complicated, at least for me. So pretty much they present you like a flat pattern, and in your mind, you have to like fold it, and you have to visualize how it's gonna end up looking like. And then one of the answer choices obviously is how it's gonna look like, and you have to select the right one. So it's they're never like gonna fold it backwards. It's always gonna be into the screen. So that's a good thing. And they can present you with patterns like this, with the dies, or with complicated things like this. So my tip to like do this type of problems, honestly, these ones are pretty easy because you can visualize it pretty easily. This is just the, kind of like the top. So if you look at this, like this is kind of like rotated. So all the other sides you have to like rotate it mentally. And what I would do is just like, I saw the sides are like little dots. So there's a dot right here, and this dot would connect. So these 2 sides are connected. And then when you have this blank side of the dice, then this one is like connected side. So you would see it like a little dots, and I would like connect it and try to like visualize. I don't know if that's making any sense to you, but it did to me. I would do the same with the dice. I would just connect them and see like how, especially for the 3s and the 2s, like they can be in different directions. So we just visualize like, oh, when I connect this dot with this dot, then the bottom part of the 2 is going to be connected to the right side of the 4. So that way I would like have an idea of how it would look like. I don't know. That's what I did. And then for these very complicated ones, I would just like look at the biggest portion, like the biggest piece. Like this right here would be like my reference points, right? And then it will start trying to like fold it in my mind and see what it looked like based on like the biggest part of the picture. I don't know if you guys want to jump in. I just feel like this is really hard to explain with words.
No, I get you, Camille, because this is actually one of my hardest parts too, personally, because
Really
they get complicated. They get very complicated. But if you practice enough, it gets a little bit easier. Again, it is just a lot of visualizing. When they do have a shading like that, it makes it a bit easier. But they do move the figure, so that's what makes it even more complex. The best thing, I mean, Camilla's been giving some pretty good tips. Find the biggest thing that comes out throughout every single individual like figure, like ABCD, like you're gonna look at the biggest part or try to maneuver the shape in the way that if you do see it in a way that it's able to fold, then I mean it is complicated. It's complicated to explain. But you do get better. So if you are scared by like any of this, it's okay because you get better. Like you start practicing and it gets better. Let me see what else.
Yeah, another thing that I just remember that I used to do, so a quick like way to eliminate options is like, for example, I use like landmarks, right? So this site right here, I start looking at each one of the options and I try to look for that site. So here I don't see it anywhere because this doesn't look like that. So I would like eliminate that option, you know what I mean? So here, this right here, like this side, I don't see it anywhere in here. So I would just, eliminate it. You know what I mean? So you start looking at that's like an easy way to like eliminate options. For example, I don't know. I don't see any other examples, but like that's a quick thing that I would do. For example, this one, I would eliminate it like at the second I see it, just because I see this and I don't see that anywhere here. So there's no way that you could end up with a site looking like that. So that's another tip. Like you don't have to like, go and like try to fold the entire thing in your mind. You can just like use, little sites that look like funny or funky and like try to look them up in here. And then when you have like different ones that you have, like you nailed it down to two options, they're super, super similar, then you start looking at how they're connected. So for example, this L right here, I think is that, right? So put a little like backwards. So in the smaller part of the L, this has to be directly connected to that. What did I just do? Okay, it has to be directly connected to that. So you have to like look for that pattern here. You know what I mean? So this one, I don't know, it's connected to that. So I don't think that's gonna be like the proper pattern folding. You know what I mean? So it's just practice. It's just little like tricks that you develop with practice, pretty much.
Oh, and then one last thing is, so again, it's also knowing your weaknesses and your strengths. So like example, like Camila and I were saying that this for us is a little bit more of our weakness because like we take longer doing these. Maybe for you, these are very easy and they're actually a strength for you. So you have to take that into consideration and maybe leave these last so that you don't spend a lot of time on these specific this specific type of PAT questions, and maybe do the dots or do the cubes. That way you can have more time at the end doing these questions, or whichever one is your weakness.
Yeah, you can do it that way. Or you can do it like I did, which I would like tackle the easiest ones first and then leave time to the hardest one. So
yeah, that's what I meant. I don't know if
oh, okay.
That's what I meant. Yeah, that's what I meant.
Okay.
That way you have more time to do your hardest
Exactly.
ones. Yeah, the ones that you think are like your weakness.
So the one that you find the easiest, do that one first, just so you can get it done quickly and your mind is fresh. So your mind is fresh for the easiest one that you're gonna get it right. And then you go to like, you move on to like the harder ones until you leave for last the one that you really found the hardest. Like for me, that was TFE, so that would be my last one. Like top front end, that would be always my last one. And then I might not have enough time to finish it, or I might just end up guessing like 4 of them, but I already did the other 5 sections and I know I did the best I could and I know I got most of them right. So I'm just like guessing the one that I knew I was gonna get wrong either way because I wasn't really good at, you follow my logic. So if you leave for last the one that you find really easy and you end up guessing because you didn't have time, then you lost the opportunity of doing those questions right. So because you were gonna get them right either way. So that's just, a way to like manage your time properly. And you figured that out through practice. There's no way that nobody can teach you that, or like you have to do it yourself, and then that's how you figure it out, pretty much.
Don't leave anything blank. Answer everything, even if it's a guess. Like
never do that.
Never.
That's like a general DAT.
Yeah,
like you never leave a question blank. You just guess.
Yeah.
Doesn't
look
matter.
at it and be like, okay, I definitely know it's not that. So this one, like, if you really don't have any time left, because it can happen, but just do it. Do not leave any questions blank. that's it. Drop
So
space.
the chance to guess, so you always guess. You never
And
leave
you-
it blank.
And you never know. Maybe that's like one question that they're not gonna count. You know.
And then remember, like this is like divided into like 6 different subtests, but it's not that you're gonna be graded for each one of them or anything like that. It's just a whole section and the points that, you know, out of the whole what are 90 questions that you do. So yeah, always like if you are weak on one section, leave it for last and maybe guess on that one if you don't have time, but you know, the other ones make up for it. So yeah, that's a good way to tackle PAT. Yeah. Do you guys have any questions, any suggestions on any particular section? Have you guys actually started like doing PAT questions, or are you gonna start studying like in the future and like what is this like? Because if you see this and you haven't done a single problem, it's like this is harder than calculus. Like this is just crazy. It's insane, but you get it when you do it. So
Yeah, like if you have some free time and like you're not really 100% studying for DAT right now, if you have some free time, I mean, PAT is always like a good, like think of it like grabbing a Sudoku puzzle or something. Like you just grab some practice questions and you can do them because technically you're supposed to be doing them very fast.
mhm.
So you do some practice and they're kind of the ones that take less like actual, what is it called? Someone help me.
I know
Less
where
brain power.
Yes,
Exactly.
exactly. It's kind of just like practicing day to day.
Actually, if you download the Bootcamp app, you can do practice questions. You actually don't even need to have the subscription. Because mine, I did like the 1 month extension and it expired. So I still use Bootcamp on the app and I'm able to do it without the subscription being active right now. So you guys can practice the PAT questions without having a subscription.
Definitely.
Awesome, thank you.
That's what I used to do. Like whenever I had some downtime, I would just do it on my phone real quickly.
Yeah, definitely do questions in the morning, at night, when you're laying in bed, not doing anything, on break at work, like whatever, because they're actually pretty fun sometimes, but you know, just definitely keep on practicing.
Definitely. It feels pretty good when you actually get it right. You were so lost at the beginning and then you start doing it and you get them right. It's like it gives you so much confidence. So yeah, PAT is cool. It's like one of the easiest sections to study for because it's not really studying, it's just practicing. So
Yeah, I like to look at it like a little game in between. Like you just gotta. Oh, and please don't get like super like stressed out while doing this because you want to try to, you know, stay very calm doing this because you don't want to stress yourself out in the middle of because it can go really fast. Remember, it's 60 minutes, 90 questions. You can feel overwhelmed. So just like again, practicing also helps with that overwhelmed feeling of like having to do a lot of questions because at the end, it's gonna be done so fast. Like you're gonna blink and you're like, oh my god, I'm done. Like I'm done. 5 hours are over. Like that's it. And
mhm. And then it's very important that you practice like actual full like length, like not full length, but like the entire like PAT practice test, not just one section, because you have to like be able to like know how much time it's gonna take you to do each section, and so you can manage your time better. So make sure that you do like full practice tests for PAT. Like that's what you should do the most, full practice tests, because you do the that section as a whole, so you need to be able to like have time to do everything, right? So if you do each subset like separately, you're not gonna know which one like takes you more time or less time, or which one to do first. Like I said, I just realized that I it was better for me to start at angle ranking and go all the way to the end and then go back to keyholes and do TFE. But I only figured that out because I was doing like the full length test, so that helped me out and it improved my score a little bit. So definitely do like full length tests. And just in general with the DET, try to do as many like actual like 4-hour tests as you can, just because that prepares your brain to like be active even after you've been doing like a test for 3 hours, which is really important because BAT comes after a pretty tough section, which is like natural sciences. So you're gonna use a lot of brain power in that section. So when you go to the DAT, you don't have any break or anything. You just click submit after your orgo test is done, like the orgo part or whatever, the natural science. After you're done with that, you just go straight into PAT. So you don't have any time, any break. So you have to like train your brain to be able to like, okay, now we're gonna like use your eyes and, you know, like a couple of seconds, just close my eyes. Like I look crazy the day of the test. I'm pretty sure like people were like, what is this girl doing? But I don't care. I just closed my eyes for a couple of seconds just to rest them. And then I would like open them and be like, okay, we have to like pay attention to this damn little angles and all that stuff. But like that helped me like just close my eyes for a little bit. Just like rest my brain. So, yeah. I'm just trying to think of other things that I